For the first 4 months of 2025, the government has allocated 1 trillion rupees for recurrent expenditures. 425 billion rupees have been allocated for capital expenditures. A total of 1.175 trillion rupees has been earmarked for debt servicing, including provisions for debt restructuring. To maintain government operations and continue ongoing projects without disruption, 1.402 trillion rupees has been allocated.
The total debt estimated amount for the vote on account is 2.6 trillion rupees. The government's projected revenue is estimated at 1.6 trillion with an initial borrowing limit of 1 trillion rupees. However, we are aware that issues with the International Monetary Fund related to debt restructuring have prolonged for over 2.5 years, finally reaching its final phase. We are working to complete these activities by the 31st December. In the event of a 1 or 2 week delay due to technical challenges, we are prepared to adjust the borrowing limit. As outlined in the second paragraph of the proposal, we may raise this limit to 4 trillion rupees to account for any uncertainties. Our approach to this is based on the realities of the global situation, and we are preparing an alternative debt sustainability analysis. We have not taken a confrontational stance towards the IMF, but rather we are engaged in discussions and ongoing development of strategies. We are proposing a more progressive approach than our traditional stance, keeping in mind the challenges posed by global events. The World Bank has projected that Sri Lanka's economy could grow by over 4% in 2024. With the stabilization of the Colombo Stock Exchange and an increase in investments, we are confident in our ability to progress further in 2025. Our goal is to improve our international credit ratings and foster continued economic growth.
The highest allocation in the vote on account is for the Ministry of Transport, Highways, Ports and Civil Aviation, which has been allocated 220 billion rupees. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has been allocated 186 billion rupees. The Ministry of Public Administration, Provincial Councils and Local Government has been allocated 170 billion rupees. The Ministry of Defence has been allocated 142 billion rupees for the first 4 months of 2025. The Ministry of Health and Mass Media has been allocated 161 billion rupees. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Livestock and Irrigation has been allocated 67 billion rupees. The Ministry of Education, Higher Education and Vocational Education has been allocated 92 billion rupees. The Ministry of Power and Energy has been allocated 43 billion rupees. The Ministry of Digital Economy has been allocated 37 billion rupees and 26 billion rupees has been allocated for the expenses of the President for the first 4 months of 2025.
Rupees 1.4 trillion mudalak punaravartana sa pragdana viyadama.
You have requested the release of 1.4 million rupees from the consolidated fund for recurring and capital expenditure for a period of 4 months. However, according to the second schedule as outlined on page 18 of the vote on account, you have requested for 4,197 billion 113,737,000 from the consolidated fund. 75% of this amount is allegedly being taken by individuals who took commissions and embezzled funds from the ISB to pay off loans. Additionally, a total of 5,600 billion rupees has been requested for the full cost of both Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Accordingly, you have made a request to borrow 4,000 billion rupees through domestic and foreign loans. This interim standard account has been presented in contrast to your ideology, your thoughts and your promises. We need answers for that. Ranil Wickremesinghe has spent 1.4 trillion rupees from January to April 2024 according to the budget heading. To break it down, this amounts to 1,436 billion 948,929,000 rupees. 1.4 trillion rupees has been allocated from this interim standard account for President Anurukumara Dissanayake for the 4 months from January to April 2025. This is the same amount. We as the SJP told that while we agree with the framework of the IMF agreement, we will make some changes to certain aspects of it. However, today it seems that you have become more neoliberal than us. Regarding debt restructuring and the debt sustainability analysis, the JVP took a firm stance. Minister Sunil Handunethi is here. He said that they can negotiate with the IMF. However, according to the interim standard account presented today, 3.2 trillion rupees have been allocated to pay off loans as outlined on page 18 of the second schedule. No agreement has been signed yet. Then why are you allocating these funds here without even signing an agreement for the payment of this commercial international sovereign bond debt?
ආත්‍යන්තර ස්වෛර්ය බැඳුම් කරන අය ගිවිසුමක් අත්සන් කරන්නේ නැතුව ඔබ ඇයි මේක අස්සට මේක දාන්නේ දැන් ගෙවන්න?
3,000 billion rupees have been allocated for the ISB. These 3,000 billion rupees have not only been allocated from this interim standard account but were also included in the 2024 parliamentary budget. We hope that the government will reach an agreement on these payments by the 31st December 2024. If this happens, we will not need these funds. However, if we are unable to finalize these agreements before the 31st December, what will happen if we cannot settle the payments? Since the risk extends beyond the 31st December, possibly until April, before the next budget, we have made this allocation from the interim standard account.
අපි අතුරු සම්මත ගෙනුමෙන් මේ වෙන් කිරීම කළා තියෙනවා.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා එකඟ වූ කොන්දේසි වලට යටත්වම ඔයාලා එකඟ වෙන්න යනවද නැද්ද?
ඔබතුමාලාත් එකඟ වෙච්ච. ඔබතුමාලාගේ රනිල්
You have done the most since 2021 for the ISB, which Ranil Wickremesinghe also agreed to. You took the most ISBs and at the highest interest rate. 17 billion rupees were borrowed. We have made this decision with that awareness. Now we have to pay the interest on your loans. Tell the people of this country, the taxpayers, who made these contracts with their money, who agreed to borrow at a higher interest rate than Korea. The sins of those who made these agreements have to be paid for with the taxpayers' money of this country. In this interim standard account, you mentioned that the President's budget heading has been allocated certain amounts. However, if we can reduce the commitment free from the funds allocated in the 2024 budget, and if we manage to pay them off while saving, we could save a significant amount across all our ministries and institutions. The President himself has set the necessary example for this. If we do so, we will not need the amount allocated from this interim standard account. The other side of this is political hypocrisy. There is no need for these agreements or to bring in Charles keepers if the country was not put in danger.
රණතුර දැම්මේ නැත්තම්
ඡන්ද වේදිකාවේ මොනවා කතා කරත්
We must appreciate President Anurukumara Dissanayaka's statement in Parliament to advance the UNP Wickremesinghe IMF agreement on the 21st November, regardless of what he says on the political stage. There is no other option, but we don't need to accept everything they say. If Sri Lanka is a patient and IMF is the surgeon, the doctor has now given the patient the drip. This doesn't mean all problems have been solved. Do not signal left and turn right. Stay on this journey.
ප්‍රශ්න ඔක්කොම විසඳලා නැහැ. මේකෙන් වමට සිග්නල් දාලා දකුණට හැරෙන්න එපා. මේ යන ගමන යන්න.
2015 ආණ්ඩුවේ හිටපු
When the former ministers of the 2015 government talk about ISBs, it is hard to know whether to laugh or not. The main reason our country is suffering from this economic crisis is that Sri Lanka began taking market loans, leading to this state of bankruptcy with severe interest rates of 7.2%. I would like to ask whether those who are knowledgeable about the economy conducted a debt sustainability analysis when ISBs reached 7% in 2015. But we know very well that this level of debt could never be repaid within the economic growth framework and policies that were implemented and brought to Sri Lanka. We are ready to make these changes within the IMF program. Sri Lanka has export industries and we have a vision to grow the IT sector from 1.2 billion to 5 billion rupees. Over the next few months, we aim to increase the apparel industry from 5 billion to 7 billion rupees, agricultural product exports from 2.5 billion to 4 billion rupees, port earnings to 3 billion rupees, and the tourism sector to 8 billion rupees.
අන්න ඒක කරගන්න අපිට පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙනවා ලබන මාස කිහිපය ඇතුළත.
Before the debate began, the opposition raised concerns about how the vote on account was presented to the parliament.
අතුරු සම්මත ගිණුම සම්බන්ධ
There are several points we have already agreed upon in this parliament regarding the vote on account. According to the Public Financial Management Act number 44 of 2024, an appropriation bill should be presented. If this isn't passed, a decision on this must be made. However, when a bill remains in effect, it could violate the privileges of members of parliament.
මගේ වරප්‍රසාද උල්ලංඝනය වීමක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
ඔබතුමා කියන කාරණය සම්බන්ධව අපි පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමේදී කතා කරලා තමයි මේ අද මේක සංවාද කර ගත්තේ.
මේක කරුණා කරලා මීඩියා ෂෝ කරගන්න එන්න එපා. ඒක අපේ කරුණාවෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
විශේෂයෙන්ම අතුරු සම්මත
The vote on account and the supplementary estimates were agreed upon at the party leaders' meeting. These were considered essential and were unanimously accepted. The point raised by Dayasiri Jayasekara is important. If the government clarifies its position, this issue should be resolved.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඉවරයි. මේක මුදල් කාරක
If a committee on public finance is in place, we have no issue with presenting this matter to it. Since a committee on public finance has not been appointed, this is a a parliamentary matter, not just our issue. We expect to proceed with what has been agreed upon and implement it according to ethical practices.
ethical practice එක කරගෙන යන්න.
ඉදිරි මාස කීපය සඳහා
Are you suggesting that state sector employees should not be paid over the coming months? If you don't want relief to continue, let us know. If you don't want projects to keep the country functioning, let us know. We have the right to present these matters. That is why the agreement was reached at the party leaders' meeting. This isn't a problem for the country or the government. It's an issue for the opposition. There are ones trying to appear on the media within the first 2 hours, then give him the role of chief opposition whip. We are not saying state sector employees shouldn't be paid. What we are saying is that we should act according to the approved and agreed upon procedures. Please don't portray a different picture to the people. We urge the speaker to not allow that.
පනත ඉතා පැහැදිලි.
The bill is very clear. If an appropriation bill is not presented, then Parliament has the authority to present a vote on account. We are open to proceeding with the gentleman's agreement. If not, we are ready to move forward with that approach.
ගරු සංවිධායකතුමා.
हम gentleman politics කරන මිනිහෙක්.
I practice gentleman's politics, not a bandit. Please do not speak like that. I am a party leader too. I attend the party leaders meeting too. I am a party leader within the alliance. I have taken action because the appropriate bill was not brought forward.
මේ ක්‍රියාදාමය කරන්නේ. මෙතන තියෙන නීතිමය
This is not a legal issue, it's an ethical issue. If Deputy Minister Anil Jayanta had said that we don't have time to bring in a budget, then this issue wouldn't have gone so far. We would have understood the context.
මේ ඒකට context එකක් ලැබෙනවා.
එතුමා කතා පටන් ගන්නේදී
The obstruction occurred right at the beginning of his speech. That is why this issue arose. It is not our problem. The delay is due to the election that was held legally. It is not a delay caused by us.
ප්‍රමාද තත්ත්වයක් මිසක් අපේ ප්‍රමාදයක් නෙමෙයි කරු කතානායකතුමනි.